Hello, bendy people. So, it is summer. I'm taping this mid-July, and if you and many other people like you are feeling what me and many other people are feeling, you may feel like the Wicked Witch of the West when we throw water on her, which is, I'm melting. And so you step out in the sun, if it is similar to where I am and it's plus 30, and it's great that the joints feel a bit better. You know, a lot of the arthritis-y, achy, I just call it perma-ache, that comes with cold and wet and all that stuff, and winter is gone. But then you go outside and you can't stand up without the risk of fainting, and that's a very inconvenient thing. It's exceptionally inconvenient, to be honest. It sucks. So, I think that it's important to acknowledge that this is definitely part of having POTS and MCAS. And so I'm saying this because both MCAS and POTS are worse in the heat specifically. And if you ever want proof, go into a sauna for about probably only take a few seconds. And if you get red and blotchy all over, and if you start feeling like you're melting, and if you don't get out soon, that you're going to black out and faint, or that your very loving husband is going to need to scoop you up and carry you out or drag you out, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. What can we do about this? Because at the end of the day, it's really just important what we can do. Salt. Well, you need to increase the salt in the summer. The reason why is specifically sodium is what helps keep the fluid in your vessels and not leaking out into the rest of your tissues. So it is normal and natural and physiologically important for fluid to circulate between, your vessels and your tissues. That needs to happen freely, osmosis, etc. Multitude of reasons, and we'll be here for too long if I go into them. But in POTS, and even just in general and with heat, you could end up with very swollen ankles and a lot of pooling and it'll feel like retention, but it's pretty much leaky vessels and pooling, right? Now the problem with that is that fluid's not getting to your brain, which is where it needs to get if you want to stay conscious, which is a big problem because you kind of need to be conscious to not do things like faint, and function. Even if you're not fainting, you do need to be able to function. And if it's not getting enough oxygen and enough nutrients and you are constantly fighting lightheadedness, it's very, very difficult to function. If you already have brain fog, you're going to have way more. So salt is important. Now the next thing is, and this one is very hard to do in the summer, if you can do it, compression gear is your friend. This is when if there's any time when you need the full legging, ankle all the way up to your bra line compression, now is the time. The reason why that sucks so much is because it's plus 30. And who wants to wear tight leggings, very synthetic tight leggings, when it's plus 30? You will feel like you are swimming in sweat. Ask how I know. However, and so it's a double-edged sword. However, sometimes you can get away with only abdominal compression, especially when it's very, very hot, and trying to keep, mechanically trying to keep your legs elevated whenever you can get away with it. So moving and getting the zero gravity chairs where you get your legs up and those sorts of things. And then the abdominal compression, a lot of that is Spanx, believe it or not, and similar in strength, sometimes stronger, exercise shorts. Supercore from Australia does very, very helpful, very good shorts with a lot of very supportive abdominal compression. So those can often get you through without making you worry that you're going to faint. So we did the salt, we did the compression, hydration. Now I often loop the hydration in with the salt because often one of the ways we're getting our electrolytes is hydration, or like you put the electrolytes into your water. This is a great multitasking tool. But if you can stomach things like cold soups and all that other stuff, like if that is not it for you, then I respect that. Cold soups, you can hide a lot of salt in any form of soup. Or, of course, hot soups as well. Hot soup on 30-degree weather is just usually not your thing. If you can handle salads such as like Greek salad and stuff like that, you'd be surprised how much salt you can hide in a salad, and that it actually can taste good. In fact, often does. So that's another option. Anyway, so food and water and hydration are important. Hydration, you will need the salt as well because you may need to go, the standard is usually 2 to 3 liters of water per day for an average human, an average, BMI and weight and height and everything else like that. But you may need to go to 3 to 4 liters of water depending on how much you are losing from sweat and everything else. Now, the last one that I can't help you with, but that you'll need to talk to your provider about, is you may need medication to get through summer. So as a hypermobile provider, I often will give medication specifically in the summer, and sometimes only in the summer. I live in Canada, so the cold squeezes all your vessels in the winter and actually helps you out a bit. Now, why does it do this? I alluded to certain reasons before. One of the biggest problems is the significant potential drop in blood pressure. So if you already have low blood pressure, when you are hot, all of your blood vessels expand. Blood pressure, literally by equation, is stroke volume, and peripheral resistance. So if all of your vessels are expanding, you have significantly lowered your resistance, which means from the heat alone, even if you don't have POTS, even if you don't have hypermobility, you could see a bunch of people having transient tanking blood pressure. And this can be very hard with people who are on blood pressure medications and whatnot. Now, often people who are on blood pressure medications, their blood pressure is way higher and they'll still need the medications. But you may see it, especially if it's hot enough, and especially if they're not acclimatized to it. So the vessels opening is an attempt for your body to physiologically cool you down. Usually it is colder in your periphery, your fingers and your toes and your arms and your legs. Usually it's colder, so it opens up all your blood vessels so they'll cool down and evaporate some of their heat. Now, our body temperature is roughly 37 degrees Celsius. When you start approaching 37 degrees Celsius, your periphery, opening up your blood vessels isn't actually going to cool down your blood vessels very much. So you're going to need to find other ways to do it, which is why at certain breaking points, you will probably require air conditioning, especially if you're not acclimatized to that kind of heat. And in Canada, that's very true. And where I am, it's very true for another reason is that we've had a few temperature swings. So it's difficult to acclimatize when one day it's 20 degrees and cloudy and shady and raining, or less than 20 degrees, and then the next day it's plus 30. Like, that's, you just stay inside and come out in little spurts. You can acclimatize. We have multitudes of studies, mostly in competitive athletics, showing that acclimatization is possible. So I do want to say that is possible. Ideally, you are active and outside and finding ways to cope with it. Other ways to cope with it that I'm alluding to is being near bodies of water, because that will cool your periphery. Water is a very good temperature regulator, and it will. Another is shade. Shade is your friend. You can create shade, remember? There are these fun inventions called umbrellas. Use them. Don't let your mast cells get set off by radiation from the sun. By the way, that also happens. Your mast cells will get set off by both heat and direct contact with sunshine in prolonged periods because of sunburns. If your skin is starting to burn, your mast cells will go crazy. And if you get a significant sunburn, you will get a mast cell dump. Or a histamine dump, I should say. So navigating hot weather is a chore. It can be done. It can be done without medication, and it can be done with medication, and I admit it is easier with medication. Doing things to help regulate your body temperature are extremely helpful. So cold water, it cools you internally. If your insides feel like you are having good temperature regulation, it doesn't act like you're overheating, and that is a good thing. Now, last but not least, know your limits. Sunstroke is very real and severe. Heat stroke is very extreme and it's very real, and you need to go to emerge with any of the strokes, if you will. Obviously, also literal strokes, please definitely go. You have a 4-hour window, so go stat. But what's more common, and usually people say sunstroke and heat stroke, myself included, casually, but what they're really discussing is sun and heat exhaustion, which is still pretty bad. So the best way I can put it is when you're starting to get the no feeling, like you're walking and you can tell that your body is just saying, no, we're done. We are so done. Your body's gonna make you done, with or without your willpower. You can't willpower yourself through that. You may squeak through. You might. Or you may end up lying flat on concrete in the shade with your legs above your head. And hopefully you haven't pushed it to the point where your bowels have decided that they need to evacuate in order to cool you down. But that also happens. You can also end up throwing up because it feels like it needs to cool you down. Your body will do whatever it can to help you cool down. Doesn't always make sense, but that's what it does. And we don't have control over that if you push it to that edge. So pace yourself. And it's just so important to pace yourself. If you're in an ice rink, in an arena, and you're just fighting through a muscle cramp or mild exhaustion, it's time to dig deep. That's the right time to dig deep. If you are in incredibly hot weather, it's all pavement, you've been walking already for 20 minutes, you've already probably lost half a liter of water from your sweat alone, and your body's starting to tell you, no, that is not the time to dig deep. That is the time to find shade, lie down, sit down, drink very cold water, wait. Wait until your body says yes, and if it doesn't, you need help to get out of the heat. But usually if you can catch it in time, you won't need help. So please, 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 don't dig deep on this one. Just listen to your body. Ask me how I know. So it's coming from a place of empathy. Anyway, oh yeah, and also wear light colors. Black and dark colors absorb all the heat, light, and like natural fabrics that absorb body. I almost said body juices. Like sweat and stuff. I guess that is a body juice. That's gross. Ugh. Okay, yeah, even for me that's gross. Anyway, point is, natural fabrics, light colors, lots of hydration, lots of salt. If you can stomach it, all leg compression. If you cannot, at least abdominal compression with the shorts and or Spanx. And oh yeah, last but not least, please don't go out during peak hours if it can be avoided. And yeah, oh yeah, the other one is like temperature swings. I kind of alluded to that. But if possible, stick to air conditioned for as long of a block of time, and then outside for a block of time. The inside, outside, inside, outside, inside, outside, inside, outside, you're gonna faint, or you're gonna need to sit down or something. But that would be really hard on your body. So just one or the other. Or if it does have to be popping in and out, keep the outside to a short, very short time. I think I got everything. I'm sorry this was a long one. I'm sorry. But if anybody finds these helpful, it's worth it. Okay. I'm sure I've missed something. But if you absorbed all that, then that should be helpful.